Okay. Hi, everybody. Today is Wednesday, June 26th. You are at the K8s Infra working group meeting. You're all being publicly recorded. So, of course, you're going to adhere to the Kubernetes code of conduct and basically not be jerks. Let's see. I think I'm going to skip through the part where I welcome newcomers because I see a bunch of familiar faces here. I'm happy to see you all on this lovely Wednesday. I've pasted the agenda in chat if you didn't get here via the agenda, so you can sign in. Justin and Tim, it's my favorite part of the meeting where we get to talk about billing.
I thought I could maybe get the screen loaded before you called on me, but I'm working on it.
I think we actually have good answers this bye week.
Why don't you read your numbers and then we'll see if they jive.
Okay, so we reconciled our previous divergence, which was because we weren't including all the projects. So if we include all the projects from May 29th to June 25th, which I guess is the last 30 days, on all services, we spent $376.79, roughly.
And you did last 30 days? Sorry,
I did. Yes, I did last 30 days, which is May 29th to June 25th. I can share the tab if that would be useful.
That would be cool.
Let's see. And it is now going to a Google group, which I know someone commented on Comic Sans. I think was that you, Amy? I don't know, but anyway, someone's commented on Comic Sans, so I know someone is getting the report. Thank you for commenting. And we can certainly look at publishing it more widely once we have more, yes, once we're ready. I have not, while Tim is pulling that up, I have not yet figured out how to enable others to edit it. I can certainly add individuals to as editors, but I don't know how to do anything better than that.
So I show, oh, sorry, this isn't group I don't want per project,
I can also drill down to a project if you'd like.
No, that's fine. I get 384.63 for 529 to 625.
Which is pretty close. And we know that there is, so we also established, you may have did you add up the numbers, Tim, or did you look at the?
No, I just asked it to give me the total.
Yes, you have to add up the numbers to get you should hopefully get a little bit closer, as we discovered a weird anomaly.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not going to go through the line by line and add them all up, but we're within spitting distance, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Yes, and there's also a known divergence on how we measure the things that overlap the edges of the time window, but I don't think I care.
And for anybody who cares about why sometimes it shows us as having a credit, it's just the distributed systems nature of the billing process.
But that is unique to this report doesn't have that problem.
Yes, your report does the right thing because you're writing code, not just accumulating as it goes.
Well, anyway.
So to maybe jump ahead to some of the billing issues while we're talking about this, do we feel like we have achieved enough parity that we're willing to trust Justin's billing report going forward?
I think we should continue to cross-check it.
Okay.
For a while. Right now, I'm pretty happy with what we've got. I haven't looked at the report recently to make sure that it's got all the graphs that I would want, but the total number seems correct. So let's just keep cross-checking it, especially as usage ramps up, and as we get different kinds of usage, we'll want to see that we can actually get the right information. But for everybody who's receiving that email now, I would say you can trust it pretty well.
I am not yet receiving that email. Who here is?
I got it.
You got it.
I get 2 every day.
You're right.
I don't have it either.
Oh, to whom should I send it? Let's see. Schedule.
So what's the name of the Google group that this gets sent to?
I think I'm sharing it. K8s Infra Cluster Admins at Kubernetes.io.
Okay.
We should probably send it to K8s Infra Accounting. What do you guys think? or like how public should this, how broadly do we want to send this? I think the right group is called accounting. Let me just double check.
I mean, is it too much noise if we send it to the regular mailing list that we use for discussion and stuff?
I'm fine with that too. I don't think there's anything sensitive in there.
I can also send it weekly or something rather than sending it.
Yeah. How about a weekly report to our public Google group seems great.
Okay. And I believe there's also a function to publish it as a PDF or something, or like a report. But I think the weekly email is probably the good start. And I can also remove you if you would like, Tim, so you don't get it double delivered.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. I will do that once I'm not sharing my screen.
K8s Infra. The other group was K8s Infra GCP accounting. Sorry.
But we want it sent to which group, just to confirm?
That's fine. I think just the whole K8s Infra, whatever. I don't even know the name of the group at this point. K8s Infra WG or WG K8s Infra?
WG K8s Infra. So Justin, I assigned you to an issue in k8s.io and put down, we want to send the report weekly to the public group and then send the report daily to the accounting group. Is that? No?
I don't. I will find out if I can do that. You might have to choose.
Okay, I'm fine with it's listed in order of priority.
Okay.
I think.
I will do my best. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. And then in terms of other people being I heard Tim say the phrase "you're writing code." Like, where does this code live? How can other people see it?
I'm not really writing code. I wrote not that complicated, a relatively complicated SQL query.
Okay.
But there is.
So SQL is not code?
That,
Justin's on the record now.
I think we can agree that Bash is not code, but other than that, we're not going
to trip and fall into all the flame wars here, you two. Children.
Triggered. Anyway, there is a single SQL query, and then most of the work is in actually like the GCP Data Studio tool.
So is there any way to dump that like as a snapshot, or is it just in the tool?
I haven't yet found a way. I guess I can open a bug and ask the team.
Yeah, it would be really great to have that checked into Git somewhere so that people could look at it and make modifications.
Or we could make it public read only so they can copy it or something like that, but yes.
And is that, is access to that controlled by the K8s Infra GCP accounting group? That's the IAM group that we've set aside for people who are working on accounting.
I can grant access to that group to edit the reports if that would be useful.
I think that would be the right thing to do. And then whatever access, like I want to get to the place at the end where no individuals have access, only groups.
Okay. I will. Last night I deleted all my owners on my GCP account, so we might want to keep someone in there as a fallback, an individual in there.
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, we've got like Ihor from CNCF, we've got Taylor from Linux Foundation. We might keep me or a small number of other people who want org level access, but each individual project should not have individual people.
Okay.
And I gave you access, I put you in the GCP accounting group, right? So that you could access the billing report page. Wasn't that you that I gave?
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, you are in the accounting group, so.
Okay.
Okay, so just to recap, we're going to send this report out weekly to the public Google group. We might send it daily to an accounting group. We're going to try and use the accounting group as write access to the Data Studio project. And we're going to look at ways to maybe like share the Data Studio project with the public at large, or maybe dump out that gnarly query or something.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
And Justin, I hate to lump more stuff on you. As someone who's never used Data Studio, would you be willing to write like a one-page doc of here's how you get at it if you wanted to make changes to it?
How you get at the, like into it? Yes. I feel like I will not write better docs than the Data Studio docs. Well,
no,
I will.
like as a person who's in the GCP accounting group,
How do I
what
start?
project to open, which dashboard,
Yeah, I will do that.
and literally one page would be enough, I hope.
Yeah, probably like a README somewhere in this repo.
Exactly. New directory accounting or something.
And okay, just to again go over the other two things that I have in the milestone related to billing. We don't really know anything about per namespace billing for a given cluster yet with all of this work, do we?
I have, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go for it.
I would say I just haven't had a chance to dig into it yet.
Okay, it's the
We
issue.
will get there. I'm confident we will get there because we have this feature with GKE. I just haven't had a chance to play with it firsthand.
Okay. And the other one is about, do we know how our billing will work with storage stuff, understanding, which things are costing us the most in terms of transfer, which things are costing us the most at rest.
We don't yet know, I think would be the answer.
Okay. So in terms of what this report shows us, it just shows us in aggregate that we're transferring data out of GCS, but we don't know which things are being transferred.
Correct.
Okay. Let's see. So again, I didn't really roll through and collect AIs out of the last thing, so I figured we could walk through the issues in this milestone. Does that sound good to everybody? All right, let me find the button to share a screen. Cool, so we just walked through everything billing related. Next, I like to walk through everything cluster management related. So we have, can everybody see this, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, I have a bunch of relevant PRs linked here. 2 of them are merged, and 1 of them has a bunch of bash.
So I just posted that one in chat and realized that it wasn't assigned to anybody except Arnaud. Arnaud, as LGTM'd it, I just assigned it to Justin. He can take a look at it. Basically, it's just moving things out of the K8s GCR directory and moving it into an infra directory because it's apparently all the infrastructure now. This is all the scripts that we have to recreate the universe should something go awry. And I would say is also the canonicalization of what we intend to be in these projects. There's nothing new in this PR.
Okay.
It's just moving stuff and renaming some stuff.
Okay.
So Justin will hopefully look at it and approve it, and then that will be in. And then I have Arnaud's scripts to look at next.
Okay. So I can also look and help approve.
You are also welcome to look and approve. I just picked Justin out of the thin air.
I'm going through it now. You'll have LGTM very soon.
Okay. So which one of these is Arnaud's P? I guess it's this one, add script. It spins up the canary. Okay.
That one's on me to look at, and it looks like Christoph got there before I did, so it'll probably already be mostly sane.
Okay. I made noise about getting pushy on this last week or last time we met, and then I never really did. So I don't know that it's fair for me to make the same noise here.
I have a big block of time put aside on Friday just for PR reviews, and I will get this one up at the top of the queue now that the other big ones in my queue are mostly done.
Okay. Christoph, did you have anything you needed to say to this one, or was that off?
I might open, like, once we get to the rest of the milestone, I might go have a discussion topic on this because I looked at it and I was unhappy with Bash. Not anything that Arno did, like actually creating it, there wasn't any concerns that I had like with the work that Arno did. The concern is like driving this through Bash. So I have an alternative, but we can do that after the milestone.
So Christoph, you and Justin can get together and sharpen your swords and come after me.
I mean, we talked about a bunch about this last time, but I don't think we ever reached any like actionable conclusions. My sort of takeaway was there were a couple orthogonal concerns at play, and if Bash is the quickest way to meet those now, okay, and then maybe we can revisit what would be more manageable or something that is that more people are willing to support.
My position has been and still is not for love of Bash, but simply we know that the G-Cloud command lines work in a certain way and they have the features that we need. And I didn't want to get distracted in all of this by going off and learning Terraform and figuring out what it does and doesn't do, or going off and writing our own declarative syncers. Like, we can do that. I just didn't want those to be between us and progress.
Yeah, I will say, based on a little bit of noodling I have done with spinning up Prowl lately, it's not something that lends itself super well to a very declarative GitOps driven model. It would fit better if we were supportive of, we'll allow mostly scripts and or a human to do a bunch of things, and then we'll find a way to reconcile that against like, here's the list of resources that we expect to live in this GCP project for a given Prowl cluster that also needs some other GCP things. As long
and
as
I'm tired of being the stick in the mud on that one, so I'm willing to listen and understand what you mean when you say that.
Okay.
I'd like to hear the concrete examples of what doesn't script well.
Yeah, sure.
Do it here. We can do it here, but we don't need to.
We don't need to. We won't. That's fine. I like short meetings too. Okay. So we feel like when we get that Canary PR over the line, what do we feel like is the next step?
We use that to bring up a cluster, and we burn down the existing cluster and shift everything that's in it over to this new cluster. Okay. And we build our confidence that this cluster actually can do the granular access that we want and the per namespace billing that we want. And if we can get those things, then we open the floodgates for all the other things that are currently in the existing utility clusters. Most of which are checked into the K8s.io repo, or some of which.
So we currently have two clusters, right? We have development and development 2. Are we talking about removing everything that's on both of those clusters to a cluster created by this?
Yes. That would be my argument. Somebody tell me otherwise.
Okay. Sorry, while you watch me type. Okay. I feel like I will pull that actionable stuff up to this umbrella issue. It seems like I feel like for what we have, we don't have enough issues representing that work. Okay. Okay, let's look at access stuff next. So reconciling IAM, like dumping what we have. Does anybody know what the state of that is?
Hippie, are you here?
Hippie is unfortunately not here. He does have a PR that is open.
Ready for review again? Okay. I guess that's back in my court. I'm sorry.
Okay, so...
Anybody else is free to please also look at this.
All right, I will CC myself for review as well.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be me, but I ran the first draft of it and had a bunch of feedback for him. So I'll go back through it again, but please
Okay.
feel free to jump in there. And anybody who's anybody who's in the GCP auditors group should be able to run his results here and produce a report that is interesting and useful. So who's in the auditors group? Let's look real quickly.
Okay.
Dims, Aaron, myself, Ihor, and Hippie. And anybody else who wants to be in the auditors group, we can talk about that. But anybody in the auditors group should be able to run this report and produce something that they can look at and say with confidence, everything looks okay.
Okay, so this is blocked on that. Next, using the groups.yaml file to reconcile who is in what Google groups that we have automatically created under Kubernetes.io. Christoph, apparently you had signed up to do a make file or something.
Yes, and have not done that.
Okay.
But that's still on me.
Speaking of groups, Nikita has her publishing bot group that needs to be created. Somebody who's got that already set up can please run the reconcile.
So
yeah, that would also be on me.
Merge the file.
Also said I was going to do that.
If you run that and let me know, then I'll finish creating the rest of the GCP resources.
I'll do it right now. It only
Awesome,
takes a sec.
Okay, we had this issue open about maybe using a Google group for cluster auth. I honestly don't know what the story is here.
Yeah, we set up this group, and I guess this was going back to looking at Arnaud's PR. When we create the cluster with this extra flag, we should be able to use those groups for RBAC.
So I actually have thoughts there. So I looked into this one because I was confused about what was going on. There's two ways basically to manage GKE RBAC permissions into a cluster. One is you do it at the project level. So you assign scopes and stuff to a user or to a group or something at the project level, and then the clusters inherit that.
Right.
And then there's also doing it specifically local on the cluster. So like creating Kubernetes level, like cluster role bindings and that kind of stuff, and binding directly to Google accounts. I would suggest we do it only at the project level, because it's very visible and auditable from the project level. Whereas right now we are not doing anything to audit things on the cluster itself.
So if we do it at the project level, though, then we have people who have blanket access to the entire cluster, right? There's no sub namespacing at that level. I was hoping that we could use the RBAC control so that each of the individual namespaced efforts would have their own RBAC and their own Kubernetes.io groups that would govern access to the individual things, like pretending we're multi-tenant.
I don't know that is particularly useful, and I would assert that like either we trust somebody or we don't, because they're still going to be able to consume resources. They're still going to be like I don't think anybody wants to get in the business of like setting up quotas and like doing that on a per namespace level and managing that for every single thing that we do. I think either we trust somebody to have actual cluster access or we don't. I don't know that we necessarily need to like start sub namespacing out specific tenants to give people like, oh, just your namespace, but we don't trust you to not touch other namespaces.
I was hoping we would do it, if nothing else, as a way of exercising the reality of Kubernetes. Like, one of the big customer empathy points that Kelsey keeps beating us over the head with is we don't use our own products enough. And if this is what we're telling users they should do, I feel like we should do it. I take your point though, like it is sort of a pain in the butt, but that's the pain in the butt that we're telling people is the answer.
Right, but then we have to manage it and we have to audit it. And we have to manage that on the cluster and have this, create some way to have visibility on the cluster, which we don't have, as opposed to Hippie script, which gives us auditability at the project level.
Well, but we can also extend Hippie script into the clusters to pull all the RBAC roles and merge them together, right? Like we could, it's just a bash script.
Or we can drive it the other way around. Like we can have it from Git and actually drive it into Kubernetes fairly easily, more easily than we can do with GCP. Like the kubectl apply works for that.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out how much work we're trying to bite off here. Because like, if I can be like completely perfectly honest, we need to get some infrastructure up and running, and we need to like get some stuff actually out the door. This is infrastructure for the Kubernetes project, not a customer empathy exercise. And I totally understand what you're saying, but like, I'm not here to use every Google product in the book. I'm here to get some clusters up and running.
This isn't even Google products though. This is just Kubernetes. This is like, we're asking Kubernetes users to set up RBAC. That is how we tell them to do multi-tenant access. Whether they're doing it through a Google group or an individual username doesn't really matter, right? So I didn't mean to position it as a Google customer empathy. I mean as a Kubernetes customer empathy. Like, anyway, I hear your point, and maybe we should not block on this, but make it a follow-up to try to make it more granular if it's possible.
I guess I kind of am positioning this or thinking of this similar to the discussion we had around like being really fine-grained about all of the resources that we're standing up for our infrastructure. It is, I believe, a number of our infrastructure, a good chunk of our infrastructure right now is stood up assuming like a larger, broader level of access than maybe you are comfortable with, Tim. And I would love to like start with things wide open and then gradually tighten it down to figure out what exactly is required. And you seem to be describing the same thing, but within the context of a cluster and like what exact RBAC roles are needed for this set of Kubernetes resources to be able to do their jobs.
Yeah, I mean, in the long term, what I want is to be able to be really sort of free with, person from community says, I'd like to help do something, right? I'd like to help work on one sub piece of the infrastructure, and we can give them access to that relatively freely without having to worry about anything else. And blanket cluster access is not that. But if we're willing to start with, it's going to be a relatively small group, and let's be frank, like it is the people who are on this call every 2 weeks that is going to be doing the majority of the work. I guess I'm fine to start there and then make it a secondary effort to try to crank that down. And honestly, if that effort doesn't work well, then we will have learned something.
Okay.
So I guess I'm okay, and I will not be dogmatic about that. I'm still going to try.
I'm totally
wouldn't expect anything less.
We might find that it's yet another cluster we end up burning down and migrating stuff over to as we really understand what the needs are.
Well, and honestly, as a point of process, we should probably make it easy to, at least for the sort of utility clusters that are not like special purpose, that carry a bunch of the workload, we should figure out how to burn those things down and recreate them on a regular basis so that we know that we've always got our butt covered should something happen.
Agree. The best disaster recovery is the stuff you actually use.
The 90-10 problem. 10% of the work goes into 90% of the return, or something like that.
Okay.
Disaster recovery is 90% of the work and 10% of the return. There we go.
Tim, I'm going to say this issue here basically are you on it? You are not. I'm going to assign this to you, given that you said you have a dream of like removing people from everything and making sure it's groups for everything.
Yep, that's fine. You can assign to me. We're really pretty close to that already. I think like maybe you and Justin have some access that I should take away and replace with groups. And once Hippie scripts are in place, we'll actually see it plain as day.
Okay. That is it for access. Anything that I have left out? Okay. Let's talk about artifacts and cluster image promotion. I don't know which of these issues relates to that the most. I'm going to assume create an image promotion process. I've seen, Amy, I've seen like Linus say things in the K8s Infra channel a bunch, but I actually don't know where we stand there. Do you have any updates for us?
Yep, so I have a few things listed in the open discussion section. So currently what I just added to Linus's like design doc is having like an image promoter ED testing criteria. So if folks from this meeting, and then I'll also post it in the Slack channel if folks can review that. After that, what I plan on doing is setting up proud jobs for those EDE tests. And then if y'all could also review Linus's EDE testing framework, that'd be awesome. So that is the updates.
Okay, so there's that. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Justin, I feel like you had been, you had something about making this more supportive of artifacts in general rather than just container images.
Yes, I have not done anything on that in the last 2 weeks, but I will try to do more on that.
Okay. Just sort of going through what I have in the comment from last time. We had concerns over the container image promoter doing deletion stuff. Amy, is this covered in either of those things you mentioned?
So I added it into the EDE testing criteria part for the open discussion, specifically for deletion. There's like a few open questions, and I'll definitely make sure to float those up within the Slack group to get more attention on it as well, so that we can have more comments. Yeah, it's there.
I mean, I feel like it's up to y'all. I feel like this is kind of, to me, this is the bulk of the discussion around artifact stuff. Unless, Justin, you have a burning desire to talk about other stuff. Maybe we could walk through this doc. Okay. I am reading this for the first time. Tim, I see comments from you on this.
I was just about to say, I don't think I've seen this, but apparently
I will also paste this in chat.
Yeah.
Rather, I don't think I've seen this in the last 2 months.
Okay.
Has it do we know if it's like changed in the last 2 months? Or?
So the top part hasn't changed at all. It's just, I didn't know where else to put like related stuff. So I just tacked on the EDE.
Let's go through testing criteria for release. How about that?
Yeah.
So we need to assert that it's not going to unintentionally remove things, that it does successfully add and update things.
Yep.
Here.
And then we also need to make sure that the service accounts like are always working.
On that, what does it matter if they aren't configured correctly? You mean like what happens if the promoter is just completely broken? Like how will we see it type thing? Or I guess I'm just wondering why that it is important. I just don't know why we want to test it. It's sort of, would we write a test for that? I guess I don't even.
Like not a test per se. I guess I just wanted to add that there so that like at least we'll know like if the image promoter just like totally is broken.
That it gets surfaced somehow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And on the removing stuff, which is honestly one of my biggest worries, I forget if the service account, or the IAM permissions for GCR are granular enough to prevent delete but allow adds. If so, we should try to do a negative test, like try a delete and make sure that it fails. But I'll have to look into the access control there.
So I feel like I would have the most confidence that this thing works as advertised if we have it run through image promotion. And instead of pointing it at like the production repo, we point it at a canary repo or something.
Which we have a K8s staging SIP test and a K8s SIP test prod projects, which are set up to echo a random staging project and the real production serving project.
I'd also say I actually use this promoter in my personal work, and it works great. Although I don't do deletion. I turn off delete because I am also paranoid.
Turn it off in the image promoter or in somewhere else?
In the image promoter, I pass the flag. But once I pass the flag, it has never tried to delete an image, and it does correctly promote images. This is Annex data, but it is at least supportive of the fact that I've been doing it for several months.
Linus has demonstrated it months ago, right? It's really only having the...
Oh, I mean, I use it as like my workflow.
That is great. I believe it works. I just don't believe that the testing is in place to convince me that it will work ad infinitum.
Agreed.
Okay, and so all of these assertions that we want to make, are we saying we need to assert that these happen live against those staging or like alternate promotion target repos? Is that the idea?
The SIP test targets, yes.
Okay. And then, so to me, it feels like we just kind of need to answer these open questions, and then Linus and Amy can run wild against the plan that we have agreed upon. Is that a fair statement?
I think so. I think we have the requirements here. Like, I think this captures it, and I'm just waiting for somebody to tell me that the tests are there and happy.
Well, what I don't know that if we decided or not was are we just saying we're going to proceed by doing as Justin does and turning off deletion entirely, and that's just not a thing that this will ever do.
That may be the only answer we've got. I'm looking to see if there's anything better than that. There may be nothing better than that, and it makes me a little nervous to know that the code is there and just flag gated off, and if we don't...
So to your point, perhaps we could set it up with a service account that prevents it from doing
what I'm trying. Yeah, that's what I'd like to figure out, but I'm not sure if we can do that or not.
Underlying that, though, if we are able to lock it off, you don't want the delete functionality. You would be okay with us not supporting delete.
Correct.
Perfect.
I think we'd all be more comfortable if it did support delete. Not less code as a feature.
Yeah, like it would actually make me more comfortable if we just said, I'm going to delete that code from the image promoter entirely, not just flag gate it off. But like, let's just delete the code if we don't want to use it. And that way it can't accidentally be turned on.
I'm happy to test the belts and braces, or belts and suspenders, I guess, of like, can we remove the IAM permissions like from the underlying bucket or whatever it is as well. I'm also happy to remove the code, but I feel bad like deleting Linus's code.
Commented on.
Okay, yes, if def.
It will always live on in Git history, forever and ever.
I'll put in a different thing with a Go. What is it called? The import. Whatever those things are called. The conditional build tags.
I don't know how to use Google Docs. Jeez. You got it, Amy.
So Justin, it may be interesting to test if we want to set up some time. We can change the permission from storage object admin to storage object creator and viewer.
We can try and see what happens. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, presumably that would take away something.
We
was
just
trying to figure it out.
We just don't know.
Just
if,
looking
like,
at their. Go ahead.
We just don't know if like GCR reconciles that or whether other things just blow up.
Exactly, because the permissions I'm looking at are on the bucket level, and GCR, I will bet GCR doesn't actually fully respect them for metadata.
So maybe it would be a weird. Yeah, it depends. Yeah. Okay.
You'd probably be able to delete the metadata, but not the bucket entry.
Well, it depends which one. Well, look, we can look at the code and find out which one it does first, right?
Someone can, yes.
You and I can look at the code.
Okay, so to recap, Justin's going to noodle on some things. Amy and Linus have a test plan against which they can execute. We don't feel we need to be intimately involved in the review of that test plan, but we would like to see the outcome of that before we are comfortable moving forward and turning this on for prod. Is that a fair statement?
I think so.
And I think we reached the big decision that we're not going to do deletion in the promoter. Like, I think that's a big, like that was Amy's top open question, right, Amy?
Yeah. And the other thing is, I guess my question is like, is there a case where we will ever need deletion, like separate of the image promoter? Is it something that you all still wanted?
I have found it is helpful to have something that can assist with janitorial duties.
Okay.
Like in this case, is it ever safe to remove something from the GCR once we've published it?
I think the only case that we'd even want to remotely consider doing that is like there's a security issue in something that we've published and that it is so unsafe for somebody to be running it that it is safer to break somebody's cluster in some sort of way by removing it than it would be to let them continue running what they are.
In which case the human could do this.
Right. That feels less like janitorial. That feels like a surgical human operation, and I'm fine with that. I'm not saying janitorial stuff is necessary. It could make us feel safer if it's a separate binary entirely from the container image promoter.
Yes. So my position then, I guess, is even stronger than it was before. I think we should just delete or comment out the deletion code from the image promoter, less to test, less to worry about, and more happier.
And then, yeah, like the main reason I asked that is just to like just to figure out like if we like ever need deletion code, which it doesn't seem like we do.
I can't honestly think of a time when we would really want it. I would much rather that those things happen sort of as a, like at the back end as a policy thing, but there is no such mechanism. So I think we just leave them and never remove them. We've never, like in the history of the K8s GCR, we've never removed an image for a reason like Christoph suggests.
Cool.
Okay. I feel like we can move forward from this. So somewhat related to this, I feel like I see people asking about a place to put their images repeatedly. Maybe I keep asking this question every meeting because people keep asking it around me. Like, are we at the point where we encourage people to create a staging GCR repo and just put their images up there? Or because like I looked at some of the scripts and there are staging repos that are created for sub-projects. I think if I look somewhere in here.
It's now in a directory called Infra. Go back up.
I was looking at this.
Yeah, okay.
So
that file is moved.
Projects like Core DNS and Cluster API and COPS that like are not Kubernetes that have their own repos, but I think they also kind of tangentially have Googlers attached to all of them. So it's unclear to me whether this is truly a workflow where a sub-project is pushing images to a GCR repo, they're not Googlers, and they can totally do this.
So the list that we picked at the beginning was enough so that we could get a few people outside to test whether they had appropriate access to it. The intention was that we would be very loose in granting these. Any sub-project of any SIG can probably ask for a staging repo, and we should be fine with that.
Okay, I will
So
answer.
Nikita has asked, Nikita's PR for Publishing Bot was a great example of what people can just copy and do. Like, I'm fine to throw open the floodgates on here with the caveat that we're not actually promoting yet from here. But if people are willing to use this as a hosting place, go nuts. Disagree?
I don't think so. So we incur storage costs from these sub-projects, but we
That's right.
know which sub-projects are costing us the most, but that's fine because it's small.
And we'll know soon enough.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I guess if any other sub-projects want staging repos, I guess we're able to accommodate that now. And if there's nobody who is going to disagree with that, then once this PR that was linked earlier gets approved and merged, this file will move to a different directory. But otherwise, let's cut people loose. Who do we send an announcement to? K8s Dev?
Yeah, I would say K8s Dev. We should probably have like a document or a
draft
process for people to follow, README or something.
Or maybe we do it. Maybe we do that in 2 weeks, like do some word of mouth things.
I was going to say that it's more like, so I understand how to respond and where to point people to. I think what I just took away or what I heard was like, Nikita did it. I will show you the PR that she used to do it and just follow that for now.
That's right.
And
unfortunately, it requires two separate reconciles. It requires somebody who's got the groups access, which I have not set up, to reconcile that. And then it requires somebody who has the storage admin's access to set up the storage stuff. But that's fine.
And
right?
I think basically it's so spotty that like, I don't know if there's anybody in both of those groups at the same time. I know I have DNS and I have groups, but I know I do not have storage.
Let me look. Yeah, the list of people who have artifact admins is very small. Dims, Aaron, myself, Justin, Michelle Nurali. Interesting one. I think artifact admins, oh no, artifact admins isn't gonna be enough because you have to create a project.
I plan on working to become more active here in the next 2 weeks. I have not run any of the commands to reconcile any of the things, and I'm happy to do that to sort of help debottleneck parts of this process.
Yeah, you know, we'll need to figure out. We'll need to figure out which permissions are required to run the reconcile scripts. The storage artifact admins group can manipulate all the storage once it's created, but can't probably create them because it requires creating a group and linking a billing account. Let me think about how we can segment that so I can delegate better on that.
Okay. I feel comfortable taking this offline, probably poking Christoph a lot and then poking you as needed, Tim.
Yeah. And we can grow the list of people who are able to do that. I just want to think about, like, I don't think we have one group that covers that.
Right. Okay. I don't even I feel like maybe we already said this in the last issue. Okay. I think I have covered everything.
I dropped one more thing on the agenda if we are done.
So yeah, let's go back to the agenda. Creating a Google group for AWS accounts.
So Tim, this is sort of pinging between you, me, and Ihor, but it would be nice to have a Google group. AWS accounts need an email. We want to set up, the cluster API provider AWS has asked to set up a bunch of AWS sub accounts under the master account to isolate them. I was thinking I don't know what email we should use for those. I was thinking a Google group would be the right thing. I don't know how to go about creating said Google group. It will not be permissions. It will just be emails.
That's fine. Create it in groups/groups.yaml, and someone who's got access to the G Suite will reconcile that, Christoph.
Thank you.
I see no objections to that. I don't know if anybody else does.
No, plus one. I was muted.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean,
I just ran a reconcile on whatever's in master.
Ordinarily, I
So,
might have said, like, why not just use a public Google group for that? We use that for credentials for, like, things to use Zoom all the time, but I also kind of don't care. Maybe this is a better path forward and demonstration of that.
I also wonder whether you can use it to get into the account, like whether you can use it to become admin.
Sorry, did you say that again? I didn't quite catch
I also worry you might want to use this to become admin.
Yes. Yeah, no, I just mean how, like, SIGs have, like, a leads Google group that only the, chairs and tech leads are members of for them to share credentials. It could be similar.
If it's going to cost us money, I think it's fine to keep it under the Kubernetes.io.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with this. I should have been quiet.
Long term, I'd like to get off of the public Google groups completely, but that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, this counts for a lot.
What would you all like to do with your remaining 6 minutes? Do we have other stuff people want to talk about? High hand.
I want to show off something.
Okay.
I want to show off something.
I will stop my
share.
All yours.
Screen. Can people see screen?
No.
No.
No? Try now.
Yes.
Yay, no. Zoom. I know how to Zoom.
Oh, no.
So after I reviewed that bash script, I went and hacked together a proof of concept for Terraform to actually spin up clusters and that kind of stuff, and based it off of, like, the technical decisions that Arnaud had made in the bash script. And it works. Like, it works. We can do pretty much everything in here in a declarative way. The new version of Terraform is actually way better than the old versions of Terraform were, which is good because every software product should hopefully get better as opposed to worse. But I've got a repo. I can send out a link into the channel and that kind of stuff. I poked Arnaud directly to take a look and review this, but it's basically spinning up a cluster in a declarative way with all the best practices in Terraform as opposed to using the G-Cloud CLI. My main objection to the G-Cloud CLI is the flags change on it pretty much weekly. It updates all the time, and things are constantly changing, and flags are being redefined, and it's great. Like, I like the G-Cloud CLI if you are interactively using it. Scripting around it, I've always found painful because it changes so frequently.
If there are flags that are not alpha flags that are changing in incompatible ways, like, please, can you let me know? Because I haven't seen that, but I'm not exercising them all. That is not supposed to be the case. But anyway, I don't hate this.
When I see one, I will definitely let you know, because it does happen. It does happen when flags change meaning, or defaults change. So, like, if you leave a flag off and then the default under the hood changes, because even, like, Google is very prescriptive, or opinionated is the right word, with their defaults, which are not necessarily, like, the best practices, because when Google wants you to spin up a cluster, they want it to be super easy to spin up a GK cluster, as opposed to necessarily, like, create being the best practice.
That's sort of true. We don't need to get into the philosophy there. We do occasionally change the defaults, but if you're specifying a value and that meaning changes, then somebody broke something and they should be smacked.
I feel like this discussion is sort of tangential to the underlying discussion, though, right?
Christoph, I don't hate this. It's something that I don't know. And so that was my only real reluctance to it, was not knowing how to even get started with it, because I haven't done a lot with Terraform. If you share this with the group, I will be happy to go look at it and see if I can start to actually learn it.
I would say it's actually much better, as Christoph says, in 0.12. I think it even has loops now. But I think one of the ways we could start maybe is, my understanding is they can now reverse an existing, or we can import a resource and see and do a diff, and we could actually see whether like the configuration we think we have is the configuration we have. That might be interesting.
You can import objects, but it doesn't go back and auto generate the configuration that you need to recreate the object. It basically imports the current state and then compares it to what you've defined. So you can do it. Yeah, you can basically run a plan and see what's different between the two, but it doesn't like auto go create the definition.
Is it a fair stake to put in the ground that we decide between this approach or Bash by the next meeting?
I would say so, because I think we need to move forward.
Let's make this the topic for the primary topic for next meeting.
So I also agree we need to move forward. I think maybe the implied question I had wrapped up in there, which I'll ask explicitly, is do we need to decide whether to use this or Bash to move forward?
Well, we need to commit one or the other at some point. So if everybody thinks this is better, if everyone thinks this is better, and there's already 102 pluses on the chat, then we should look at this instead of the Bash. Like, honestly, if everybody thinks this is better, then let's do it, and let's write some simple documentation for people who don't know how to use Terraform very well, and so you can walk me through what if I need to reconcile this. And Justin has overflowed us.
Yeah, way to go.
So, yes. So I'm seeing comments here, right? Terraform can be tricky and frustrating. Yeah, but I know Bash, so I'm biased. Well, at least I thought I knew Bash until people like Christoph showed me what's what. But so yes, let's make this the topic for the next session. And in between now and then, Christoph put this in our hands or in our faces, and let's take it on everybody to go read and review and think about this as a path forward. And if we like this, then we can do a similar process for the existing scripts that are in there, which I'm not particularly attached to, except that they work.
Question, is there an area that we haven't done in Bash yet that we do want to do that we could do in Terraform first?
DNS is the only thing that I know of that I haven't done in Bash yet.
Maybe that's a good, what do you think?
Which we could do, but the tricky part is like all the canary validation stuff that we have in there, which I don't know how. Honestly, the thing with the canary validation is I don't know even how well it's working right now.
The canary validations, I mean, I think it works really well. I didn't mean to put the DNS data into Terraform, but just simply the setup of a project and the DNS zones themselves. Like, we can load the data in through a script because it can do the canary and the diff and everything else. I'm getting kicked out of the room, so we can talk about this on Slack or whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say, thanks everybody. That's our Wednesday. Look forward to seeing you all on Slack.
Bye-bye, everyone.